And we are live.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Gamm showcase of comedy monologues. We've been working for 5 or 6 weeks on various comic monologues by wonderful, wonderful writers. Nikki Silver and Terrence McNally and William Shakespeare, you ever heard of him? And Harvey Fierstein and Lucas Nate. And let's see, we have Quentin Tarantino, he's very funny. And David Herson, you might not have heard of him, but he's a brilliant playwright and has written 2 things that were on Broadway. One of them that we've produced at the Gamm, La Bette, which we will be doing a chunk of. Herb Gardner and John Guare. And I think I pretty much covered, because we're doing a couple of Nikki Silvers and we're doing a Billy Crystal. I think his writing partner is Babalu. Well, look it up. So anyway, this is going to be fun. We're not going to explain what the plays are and set them up or anything. We're just going to go through 15 comic monologues and we're going to have a ball. So I hope you do too. Thanks for joining us. Without further ado, we'll talk to you at the end. But right now we're going to do 15 in a row and they're really worth your time and enjoyable. So, okay, guys, break a leg. Here we go with comedy monologues of the Gamm Show.
In the beginning, there were dinosaurs. There were lots of dinosaurs, and they were big. They were very, very large, and in comparison to man, they were huge. And there were many different kinds. There were ceratops and stegosauruses. There was the Tyrannosaurus and the pterodactyl, and they lived non-harmony, roaming the earth at will, raping, as it were, the planet, and pillaging without regard, and sorry, I seem to have forgotten my notes. I thought I left them in my pocket. I mean, maybe it doesn't matter now. I don't have them. That's the point. I think I remember most of it. Maybe I left them. It doesn't matter. Where was I? Yeah, right. It got cold. That's right. It got very cold, and all the dinosaurs died. They all died at once. It got cold, and they died. And the land masses, they shifted and arranged themselves into the pattern we see now on the map. Basically, I think there weren't any divisions for countries or states or anything, and I'm sure California was bigger, but it resembles what's on the map. During this cold spell, which is generally referred to as the Ice Age, or maybe it was after the Ice Age, or before it, I can't remember, but life started spontaneously in a lake here, and the amoebas they multiplied and they became fish. Please don't ask me how, which evolved into monkeys, and then one day the monkeys stood up erect and realized they had opposing thumbs and developed speech. And thus mankind was born here. And some people liked it in Africa, so they stayed there, and then they became black, and some people left looking for something, and they became Europeans, and the Europeans forgot about the Africans and made countries, and Queen Elizabeth executed her own half-sister, Mary Queen of Scots, and some Europeans were Jewish, but most were Christian of some kind, Jesus having been born sometime prior. I forgot that Jesus was born, and there were a ton of other religions too, but I can't remember much about them, so I don't think they were very important. But during the Renaissance, people got fat. Marco Polo invented pizza. Picasso sculpted David. Columbus discovered the New World. Gaiden Dugas discovered the Fountain of Youth. And Europeans imported tea to drink, and Africans to do their work. And Edison invented the telephone. Martha Graham invented modern dance. Hitler invented fascism. And Rose Kennedy invented nepotism. And Orson Welles made Citizen Kane. And mothers loved their children who rebelled when the sun shined, which was most of the time, except when it rained. And there was a rhythm to our breathing, and there was an order to the world. And I was born here. I give you this brief summary of events, this overview, so you'll have some perspective. And I mean, I'm sure I've got it wrong. I've lost my notes, but that's basically the idea. And I wanted you to have, I think some sense of history.
Bravo. Bravo. Well done, Luke. We're now going to go to Patrick.
It was my mother. She's lonely. She threw out her back. She's in traction. No, what do you care? I mean, she's a poor woman lying in a hospital bed somewhere out in the night. Her son's out of work, a 44-year-old nebbish with no future and not much of a past to speak of. I hate her. She ruined my life. I mean, that bitch condemned me to an eternity of self-loathing. Did I mention that I have a neurotic fear of being upside down? Yeah. My therapist tells me I need to experience my rage. She doodles while I talk to her. I should pretend she's taking notes, but I caught her. She was drawing the Lincoln Memorial on a cocktail napkin. It was very good, but I told her it stunk. Yeah, I'm not giving her any satisfaction. I love snow caps. You know, most people only enjoy them at the movies, but I mean, they're good at any time. I'm starving. Did I tell you, when I lie in bed at night, I pretend that you're there next to me? I do. Did I tell you that I hung your picture up in the bathroom? Yeah. I taped it on the medicine cabinet over the mirror. Now, when I go up to look at myself, I'm you. I thought it might make me like myself more. It didn't. It made me like you more, and I cut myself shaving continually. I put 2 candles in the bathroom, one on either side of your picture. It's like a shrine. Well, I mean, it's not like a shrine. It is a shrine to you. I sacrifice small animals to you. I use the sink. It's not as dirty as you might imagine. I do mice and squirrels. Last week I did a baby goat. I'm lying. Or kidding. No, I don't know which. About the baby goat and the mice. I killed a mosquito once, but that had nothing to do with you. Do you remember how terrified you were of bugs? You had a neurotic fear of insects. I adore them. Yeah, I love the bugs. I keep roaches as pets. You are a complete sadist. You get pleasure from my abject misery. Maybe that's why I love you so much. You could love me again if I were blonde. Yeah, I could be blonde. I mean, aren't all those boys you work with blonde? I mean, except for the brunettes and the redheads. No, I could be blonde. I could dye my hair. Oh, I look repulsive. I look hideous. You'd like that. You'd like it if I were freakishly ugly, wouldn't you? Is it unbelievably hot in here?
The only sad thing is that we're all on mute, so you can't hear us laughing. All right. And the next one is a little Shakespeare.
Oh, then I see Queen Mab hath been with you. She is the fairy's midwife, and she comes in shape no bigger than an agate stone on the forefinger of an alderman, drawn with a team of little atomies athwart men's noses as they lie asleep. Her wagon spokes made of the long spinner's legs, the cover of the wings of grasshoppers, the collar of the moonshine's watery beams, the traces of the smallest spider's webs, her whip of cricket's bone, the lash of film, her wagoner, a small gray-coated gnat, not so big as a round little worm plucked from the lazy finger of a maid. Her chariot is an empty hazelnut, made by the joiner squirrel or old grub, time out of mind the old fairy's coachman. And in this state she gallops night by night through lovers' brains, and then they dream of love. Or courtiers' knees who dream on curtsies straight. Or lawyers' fingers who straight dream on fees. Or ladies' lips who straight on kisses dream. Puts off the angry mab with blisters plagues, because their breasts with sweetmeats tainted are. Sometimes she gallops o'er a courtier's nose, and then dreams she of smelling out a suit. And sometimes comes she with a tied pig's tail and tickling a parson's nose as he lies asleep. And then dreams he of another benefice. Sometimes he driveth o'er a soldier's neck, and then dreams he of cutting foreign throats, of breaches, emboscados, Spanish blades, of hell's 5 fathoms deep, and then anon drums in his ear, at which he starts and wakes, and being thus frightened, swears a prayer or two, and sleeps again. This is the very mab that plats the manes of horses in the night, and bakes the elf locks in foul, sluttish hairs. And once entangled, much misfortune blows. This is the hag, when maids lie on their backs, that presses them and learns them first to bear, making them women of good carriage. This is she. I talks of nothing. True, I talk of dreams, which are the children of an idle brain, begot of nothing but vain fantasy, which is as thin a substance as the air, and more inconstant than the wind, who woos even now the frozen bosom of the north, and being thus angered, puffs away from thence, turning his face to the dew-dropping south.
Always good to hear a little Shakespeare. Daniel asked to work on that because his other one was from 1,000 Clowns. And now we go to John Guare. And
did you read Modern Screen 2 months ago? I am usually not a reader of Screen magazines, but the cover on it reached right up and seduced my eye in the health club. It was a picture like this, and it was called Sandra Dee's Night of Hell. Did you read that by any happenstance? Of course, you wouldn't read it. You can't see anything. You're ignorant. Not you, her. Well, the story told of the night before Sandra was to make her first movie, and her mother said, "Sandra, do you have everything you need?" And she said, snap back real fresh like, "Leave me alone, Mother. I'm a big girl and I don't need any help from you." So her mother said, "All right, Sandra, but remember, I'm always here." Well, Sandra, her mother closed the door and Sandra could not find her hair curlers anywhere, but she was too proud to go to her mom and ask her where they were. And shut up! I'm not finished that. And she tore through the house, having to look her best for the set tomorrow because it was her first picture and her hair curlers were nowhere. Finally, at 4 a.m., her best friend, Annette Funicello, the former Mouseketeer, came over and took the hair curlers out of her very own hair and gave them to Sandra. Thus ended her night of hell. But she had learned a lesson. Suffering. You don't even know the meaning of suffering. You're a nobody, and you suffer like a nobody. I'm taking Artie out of this environment and bringing him to California while Billy can still do him some good. Get Artie's songs, his music, into the movies.
Very, very good. Later, Leslie's going to do another speech from that, but a different character. That was Bunny, and later we'll hear Bananas. And now, after Leslie, is Kathy.
Do what you want. I don't care. Oh, what else do you want me to do? What, Arnold? What? You want me to leave? I'm leaving. You want me to fight? I'm too old. You want me to change? I'm too tired and I can't. So you do what you have to do and I'll do what I have to do. And I hope you're satisfied. Oh, if I ever opened a mouth to my mother like you just opened your mouth to me, you'd be looking at a woman with a size 6 wedgie sticking out of her forehead. I didn't raise my children like that. I wanted them to respect me because they wanted to, not because I beat it into them, you know? Oh, Arnold. Oh, I don't know what to do, Arnold. You think I didn't know about you? Oh, believe me, I knew. And not because you told me. I didn't need you to tell me. I knew, but I said, no, I hoped. Oh, what's the difference? I knew and I turned my back. There's other things you should have told me though, Arnold. Your friend Alan, you opened a mouth to me about him. I come up for the funeral and you never say a word. You got an unusual way of looking at things, Arnold. Back off. Arnold, give it time. It'll get better. But it'll never go away, Arnold. You can work longer hours, adopt a son, you can fight with me, whatever, but it'll still be there. It becomes a part of you. It's like wearing a ring or a watch or a pair of glasses. It makes sure you don't forget. You don't want to forget them, do you, Arnold? No, so that's good. That's good, right? So I guess that's what I would have said if I'd have known.
That is very nice acting. We're going from Torch Song Trilogy to Doll's House 2 right now.
Think about it. Marriage is cruel and it destroys women's lives. I'd argue that some people would be happier and more fulfilled without it. We do a lot of things that aren't good for us. Things we do because our parents tell us from an early age, or our parents, our churches, our leaders, they all tell us that we need it. So we believe it. And the idea just gets etched inside our skulls, but you only ever think that you need it because it's all you've ever been told. They tell us it's an expression of love, the ultimate expression of love, the one that we're all working towards. How does that make any sense? To say, I love you. Therefore, you should tie yourself to me. You can never leave me. You can never love anyone else. You're off limits. I own you. I own you. That to me sounds more cruel than kind. Also, when people say, I love you, they say, I choose you and I choose you forever. But who is this you that they're talking about? Because people change over time. People change into different people. So how can you say I want to be with this person when this person is not going to be this person 3 or 5 or maybe 10 years from now? But there you are, committed forever till death, stuck. Either with a person you don't want to be with or with a person pretending to be a person that they no longer are. I mean, I'd even go so far to say that marriage makes a person change for the worse. Because before marriage, you're wooing the other person. Wooing. What does that mean? It means you're always putting your best, your kindest, your most attractive self forward, and you woo until you can convince this person to commit to marriage. And then what happens? What happens when there's no more reason to woo? Marriage says that you're committed forever. You're bound to this person, regardless of how you're treated. Don't you think that encourages people to treat each other however they want? To be as awful as they want? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you're in it until death. This happens all the time. And people are miserable. And yes, we want to be intimate with another person. To know another person and to love that person deeply and to be naked with that person. But why? Why do we need a marriage for that? And why does it have to be with just one person? One person. And for the rest of your life? That seems so sad.
Very, very, very good. The next one is Frank.
And my video's not starting. Susie says you turned me off.
Susie?
Sorry, it's
There
on.
we go.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't tip. I don't believe in it. Don't tell me she doesn't make enough money. If she don't make enough money, she can quit. I don't tip because society says I have to. I mean, I will tip if someone really deserves a tipping. If they really put forth the effort, I will give them something extra. But I mean, this tipping automatically, it's for the birds. As far as I'm concerned, they are just doing their job. Like this waitress, right? She was okay. She wasn't anything special. I ordered coffee, all right? We've been here a long fucking time. She has only filled my cup 3 times. When I order coffee, I want it filled 6 times. The words too fucking busy should not be in a waitress's vocabulary. Jesus Christ, these ladies are not starving to death. They make minimum wage. I used to work minimum wage, and when I did, I wasn't lucky enough to have a job that society deemed tip-worthy. And what about the people working at McDonald's? You don't feel the need to tip them, do you? Well, why not? They're serving you food. But no, society says, don't tip these guys over here, but tip these guys over here. That's bullshit. Fuck all that. I mean, I am very sorry the government taxes their tips. That's fucked up. That ain't my fault. I mean, it would appear that waitresses are one of the many groups the government fucks in the ass on a regular basis. I mean, show me a piece of paper that says the government shouldn't do that. I'll sign it. Put it to a vote. I will vote for it. But what I won't do is play ball. And do not give me any bullshit that she didn't go to college. I got 2 words for that. Learn to fucking type. Because if you're expecting me to help out with the rent, you're in for a big fucking surprise.
My favorite is 2 words, learn to type. Okay, that was great. We want to go now to a play called La Bête about an obnoxious actor who has a 30-minute monologue. This won't be 30 minutes, but we're doing some highlights from this very, very wonderful.
I thank you very much. You're far too kind. As Cicero has famously opined, to hear one's peers applaud. No, that's not it. You know the one. The famous one. Oh, shit. The one about the noblemen competing. Well, it's so famous, it's not worth repeating. The point is, when a man whom I revere as highly as the famous Elamir should greet my stabs at wit with such approval, I faint. Go, fetch a cart for my removal. No, it's true. Oh, I'm absolutely not acting. Oh, the lights grow dim. My pupils are contracting. My knees go wobbly, my knuckles white. I'm fading out. Oh, good night, sweet world. Good night. I'm totally unconscious now, I swear. Is anybody there? Can you hear me? Perhaps you think I'm too dramatic, but I simply droop when I'm ecstatic. But what causes that? Do either of you know? A mystic in Gibraltar says low in some peculiar energy that lies within Leos and Capricorns and Geminis, astride the cusp of Saturn's largest moon. Well, fine, but does that tell me why I swoon? Of course it doesn't. What a load of bunk. Believe in that stuff and you're really sunk. Thank God our age has banished such superstition. Well, except for things like sprites and premonitions, which I think almost certainly are true, and voodoo dolls and fetishism too seem eminently credible to me. Tarot cards and numerology and Kabbalistic rituals and such. But astrology! Now there's a crutch that's used by fools with half a brain. Or none. Well, speak of visions! Soft! I am having one. We are standing in a public square in Ghent. I think it's Ghent. It looks like Ghent. Let's just say it's Ghent. It's Ghent. A scarlet banner reads, a great event. Auguste Valère and Elamir present the brilliant spectacle hailed all through France. And the title, Roman. No! Romance of something. The town of Ghent. I told you it was Ghent. And then there's a tent around which creams the Flanders of Flander. A rousing vision, though it almost panders by promising such glory to my dream that like two claws are so neatly at the seam that our talents might someday enfold. A fancy merely, or a truth foretold. Won't someone say which of the two thinks it? No. Shh, that would only jinx it. And fate's a cranky governess gone gray. I coined that phrase in Zurich, by the way, when I was 8 years old. Yes, only 8. Precocious? Try phenomenal. Try great. The envy I provoked just knew no ends. Imagine how despised I was by my friends. My tutor fell in love with me, of course. He thought my every word a tour de force. I pitied on him for doting on me so, but then I was a comely lass, you know. Don't look at me as if I led him on. You'd blame a dog before you blame a child? I only did what I was told to do! Lies! I never jumped him, that's not true! Good heavens. Suddenly, it all came back. So sorry, it seems that I wandered off the track. Fate! That's right. A governess gone gray. Her stewardship goes well beyond the grave, but if all things are fated, why be brave or noble or industrious or fair? Is that all you can do? Just blankly stare? Don't tell me this has never crossed your mind. If not, you've waltzed through life completely blind. Such questions are essential. Don't you see? A grounding in philosophy is vital to the proper education. It never entered my imagination that you could lack this bare necessity. And the things I assume, well, foolish me. At risk of sounding pompous or uncouth, I'd like to share some volumes from my youth that might flesh out the bald spots in your learning. They've made my brain more subtle and discerning. Those great Moroccan, bound in gold-tooled classics, which we, the prefix, and our flowing cassocks had tucked beneath our arms. I smell them still. Indulge me for a moment, if you will. I recommend you read. No! I insist, an author whom remarkably you've missed, since he's the cornerstone of ancient thought, and if he's not already, should be taught to every child in every French lycée. His name, of course, is... it starts with A. A very famous name. Oh no, don't help me out. I know it's A. It's A. It's A without a doubt. It starts with A. Or maybe D. No. It's A. It's A. I'm sure it's A. Or P. It could be P. Or M. It's M. It's M. Oh, never mind. It could be all of them. Well, this is terrible. I'm just appalled. My God, he wrote the famous, what's it called? Come on. Don't leave me hanging on a limb. You're acting like as if you never heard of him, and everybody has. He's world-renowned. His writings turned philosophy around by altering the then prevailing view that what is real is really falsely true to what is true is really falsely real. Well, either way, it's brilliant, don't you feel? And I'm not saying I don't see the holes.
Oh, how I wish you had heard me laughing, which was a lot. We're going to move to 1,000 Clowns by Herb Gardner.
No matter what day or time of year it is, you get the same fixture. Twilight in February. I need to call the weather lady like always. Someday that building will have fallen into 7th Avenue and I'll be able to see the weather. Using a machine to call up another machine. I do not enjoy the company of ghosts. Hello, weather lady. Well, I'm fine. How is your nasal little self this morning? What's the weather? Yeah, very decent. And which way is the wind blowing? No, all the way to East Point and Block Island. Humidity? Well, very good. Oh, there you go again. You repeat yourself every morning. Every morning I tell you, once is enough. Women seldom sense when they become boring. Hey, neighbors, I have an announcement for you. The windows in these are the dirtiest windows I have ever seen. Now I want to see everybody outside with their Mr. Clean bottles and snap it up. That reminds me of what happened last week when I went to the movies. See, last week I was going with Uncle Arnie and some of the other agents to see if we're running for one of the new TV shows. Well, I was on the subway. I got off at 42nd Street and I went to the movies. There are 11 movie houses on that street, Nick. It is a movie land. It breathes that seductive, carpety, minty air of the inside of movie houses. Almost as irresistible for me as pastrami. Well, as you're waiting in line with the sun shining down the middle of the working day, there's a thought in your mind, whether everyone else is as embarrassed as you are. But once you've gone inside and had your ticket torn by the old man, all doubts just go away. Because it is dark. And inside is a scene to fracture even the imagination of a little nut like yourself, Nick. Because it is damp and lovely and nobody can see you, and you are sitting deep in front of a roaring color, cinemascope, stereophonic, heartwarming, spine-softening, perfect happy ending picture show, and it is Perfectville, USA. There are old men with neat mustaches who have shaved and shined their shoes to come sit alone at the movies. And there are cute pink nearsighted ladies with secret caramels. And there are old men who fall asleep. And the ushers, you are not kidding those boys. They know you are not here to wait for the train. You are not here because you work nights. You are not here because you're on vacation. You are here to see the movie. And they give you that sneaky smile to let you know that they know. The moral question for me is this. When one is faced with life and the bare-ass job hunting raw on one hand and 11 50-cent double features on the other, what is the mature, sensible, mentally healthy step to take? Neighbors, the state of the trash in this neighborhood is low. I am seeing Coke cans, I am seeing tuna cans, I need to be seeing champagne bottles and caviar. Pick it up.
Woo! Yes, yes, I can't applaud because I have a visitor. But we're going to move right on. Leslie's going to continue with the House of Blue Leaves, but this time not as funny, but as bananas.
My troubles all began a year ago, 2 years ago today, 2 days ago today. Today, we used to have a beautiful old green Buick, the green latrine. I'm not allowed to drive it anymore, but when I could drive it, the last time I drove it, I drove into Manhattan. I drive down Broadway, the crossroads of the world. I see a scene you wouldn't see in your wildest dreams. 42nd Street, Broadway. 4 corners, 4 people, one on each corner, all waving for taxis. Cardinal Spellman, Jackie Kennedy, Bob Hope, President Johnson, all carrying suitcases. Taxi, taxi. I stop in the middle of the street, the middle of Broadway. I get out of my green latrine and yell, "Get in! I'm a gypsy cab. Get in! I'll take you where you want to go. Don't you all know each other? Get in! Get in!" They keep waving for cabs. I run over to President Johnson and grab him by the arm. "Get in!" and pull Jackie Kennedy into my car. And John, who I didn't see, starts crying. And Jackie hits me, and I hit her. And grab Bob Hope and push Cardinal Spellman into the back seat. And crying and laughing, "I'll take you where you want to go." Get in! Give me your suitcases! And the suitcases spill open and Jackie Kennedy's wigs blow down 42nd Street. And Cardinal Spellman hits me and Johnson screams and I hit him. I hit them all! And the green latrine blew 4 tires and sinks. I run over to protect the car and 4 cabs appear. And all my friends run into 4 different cabs. And cars are honking at me to move. I push the car over the bridge back to Queens. You're asleep. I turn on Johnny Carson to get my mind off, and there's Cardinal Spellman and Bob Hope, whose nose is still bleeding. And they tell the story of what happened to them, and everybody laughs. 30 million people watch Johnny Carson, and they all laugh at me. At me. I'm nobody. I knew all those people better than me. You, Ronnie. I know everything about them. Why can't they love me? And then it began to snow. And I went up on the roof.
Marvelous. Great, great, great. We're going to go to Luke now, one of my favorite monologues in the world. Whee!
If this were a musical, that would be a great cue. Steam, heat, really buzz, it's fine, I've got steam, heat. I mean, of course, if this were a musical, there'd be plenty of hot water and it would have a happy ending. You know, life and Gregory's plumbing should be more like a musical. Today's deep thought from Buzz Hauser. I know you don't think musicals always have a happy ending, but they do. I mean, that's why I like them. Even the sad ones. You know, the orchestra plays, the characters die, the audience cries, the curtain falls, the actors get up off the floor, the audience puts on their coats, and everybody goes home feeling better. And that's a happy ending, Perry. You know, once. Just once, I want to see a West Side Story where Tony really gets it. You know, where they all die, the Sharks, the Jets, and Maria while we're at it. And Officer Krupke, what's he doing sneaking out of the theater? Get back and die with everybody else, you son of a bitch! You know, or King and I, where Yul Brynner doesn't get up from that little Siamese bed for a curtain call. I want to see a Sound of Music where the entire Von Trapp family dies in an authentic alpine avalanche. You know, a Kiss Me Kate where she's got a big cold sore on her mouth. A funny thing happened on the way to the forum where the only thing that happens is nothing, and it's not funny at all, and they all go down waiting. Waiting for what? Waiting for nothing. Waiting for death. Like everybody I know and care about is, including me. That's the musical I want to see, Perry, but they don't write musicals like that anymore. All right, in the meantime, it's gangway, world, get off my runway. Sometimes our friendship isn't enough, Perry. I mean, you're not sick. You two are going to end up on the Golden Pond, you know, in maiden wife Ricker rockers. The loons are coming, Arthur. They're shitting on our annuities. I know I can't do Hepburn. And I know it's not fair, but, you know, I can't afford to be fair. Fair's a luxury. Fair's for healthy people with healthy lovers in nice apartments with lots of health insurance, which of course they don't need, but God forbid somebody like me or James should have it. And I'm scared I won't be there for James when he needs me, and I'm angry he won't be there for me when I need him. And I said I wasn't going to do this again. I wasn't going to lose anyone else. I was going to stay healthy. I was going to work for the clinic, and I was going to finish cataloging my cast albums because they're worth something to somebody, you know, some nut like me somewhere. And this was all I thought I could handle. And now this.
Really beautiful. Really great. That was from the late, great Terrence McNally, and we're in luck. We're going to have more of this wonderful writer from Patrick.
Paul, this is Mendy. Did Mike tell you well, that's what I was wondering, but if you're not sure, then I'm sure you weren't. Well, of course someone sang it. Someone usually does. Otherwise, there's no performance, or they call it a play. This would have been in 56 or 57. No, Stephen says it was in 1958. You were how old then? Oh, no, don't pick up. You don't want to know. Oh, but you remember your grandfather taking you to an opera? Well, that's promising. Tell me everything that you remember about it. No, the bulls are in Carmen. Very inappropriate for a child. Traviata's about a courtesan dying of consumption. A courtesan? It's what Stephen was before he became the youngest senior editor at Knopf, and an avocation to which he'll soon be returning if he doesn't come up with another bestseller. No, the horses and camels are in Aida. I do wish that you'd remember the singers as well as you do the animals. Traviata begins at a party. Everyone's drinking champagne and being terribly gay. I'll ignore that. And then the tenor's father comes in, the baritone, and he ruins everything as fathers will. And then there's a gambling scene. And then in the last act, she reads a letter to Nesta la Promessa and dies. You remember that much? Oh, well, then you definitely remember Traviata. Now, try to describe to me the soprano who is singing Violetta. Violetta is the heroine. You're making me feel like Milton Cross. Skip it. Just describe to me the soprano. Other than the fact that you didn't like her very much, what else can you tell me about her? Lousy is a strong word, Paul. So is stunk. No, you know what? I don't care about your opinion, as a matter of fact, because I think that you heard Maria Callas. Well, that's a good question. I loved her so much. I still do. Everything, anything about her. I'll take crumbs when it comes to Maria. Her time was so brief. That's why I was hoping maybe you'd be able to tell me something about her that I don't already know. She's given me such pleasure, ecstasy, a certain solace, I suppose. Memories that don't stop. This doesn't seem to be such a terrible existence with people like her to illuminate it. I mean, we'll never see her like again. How do you describe a miracle to someone who wasn't there? You know what? No, do yourself a favor. Put on one of her records, Puritani, or Somnambula, or no, Norma. And if what you hear doesn't get to you, Paul, really speak to you, touch your heart, I mean, the intensity of the feeling, the truth of it, well then I don't think we could be friends. No, you know what? I know that we couldn't. There is a reason that we called her La Divina. But, I mean, there's no point in going on with this, even if you did remember who the Traviata is, because for people like you, it might as well have been Zinka Milanov. Skip that one too. Listen, thank you for your trouble. Enjoy your movie. No, I don't care what your grandfather thought of her either. The two of you are the greatest singer who's ever lived, and neither of you remember a thing. Well, yes, she's dead, thanks to people like you, murderers. I hope you hate your movie. God, I loathe the Portuguese.
He loathes them. All right, we're going to go with Kathy. The first piece tonight about the history of the world without the notes was by Nikki Silver, and so is this.
5 years ago, I'm walking down Christopher Street on my legs. I had just done a bat mitzvah for my gorgeous niece, and I got my latte, my heavenly date nut scone, and the New York Times, and I'm headed back to see my young girlfriend when out of nowhere, this bicycle messenger, he swipes me. My legs goes out, the times go flying, and he slams me smack into the back of a FedEx truck, which doesn't see me. So as I'm lying in the street, broken hip, fractured ribs, he backs up onto my pelvis. And then he goes forward into my rib cage. Crack. By now, everybody's yelling, they're pointing, they're screaming. And then, I am not making this up. I swear, I am a woman of God. A rusty air conditioner falls from 20 stories onto my face. And as I lose consciousness, thank you, I see that bicycle messenger eating my scone. 3 weeks later, I wake up, regain consciousness, paralyzed, half blind, and I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck? Not just, why me? Why the fucking air conditioner? And this nurse, she gives me this book called When Bad Things Happen to Good People. What I want to know is, why do good things happen to bad people? I'm in a wheelchair. Saddam Hussein's in a Mercedes. I can't walk. OJ's on the 9th hole. I'm paralyzed. And Brooke Shields has a series. And then it hits me. What doesn't? Why this whole thing happened. And I'm saying what I'm supposed to do with my useless life, my legs and my brand new deluxe nose. You like? The Mindy. So I buy myself some airtime and I say, listen up, New York. Take a look. This is your worst nightmare. This is the ice on the sidewalk. This is the maniac in the hallway. This is God when she's drunk. So if I can still believe, if I can be thankful for someone or something each day, if I can pee in a bag and praise heaven for the pleasure, then so the fuck can all of you. Praise Allah, Mazel Tov, and amen.
Really great, Kelly. Frank, take it.
Dial this time in your life, kids, because this is the time in your life when you still have your choices, and it goes by so fast. But when you're a teenager, you think you can do anything, and you do. Your 20s are a blur. Your 30s, you raise your family, you make a little money, and you think to yourself, what happened to my 20s? Your 40s, you grow a little pot belly, you grow another chin. The music starts to get too loud, and one of your old girlfriends from high school becomes a grandmother. Your 50s, you have a minor surgery. You'll call it a procedure, but it's a surgery. Your 60s, you have a major surgery. The music is still loud, but it doesn't matter because you can't hear it anyway. 70s, you and the wife retire to Fort Lauderdale. You start eating dinner at 2 in the afternoon, lunch around 10, breakfast the night before. And you spend most of your time wandering around malls looking for the ultimate in soft yogurt and muttering, how come the kids don't call? How come the kids don't call? By the 80s, you've had a major stroke. You end up babbling to some Jamaican nurse who your wife can't stand, but who you call mama. Any questions?
Who you call Baba. So good, Frank. We have one left, and the very talented Alex is going to take us home.
Dr. Burke says she may be brain damaged. Slightly brain damaged. I told him he was slightly incompetent. And I hope one day soon he'd be slightly dead. Claims not to know she was taking so much. That's why he wants to put her away. He's afraid of a malpractice suit. I told him I was considering it, irresponsible shithead. And you knew this was going on. New tactic today. Just at her wounded best. This wilting hothouse flower, which made me look like Betty Davis. I tried to goad her into it, you know. Come on, Mom. Give him your speech about the greatest generation. Tell him about the claw hammer. I felt like that guy in the cartoon with the frog that only sings for him. Greatest generation, my ass. Are they really considering all the generations? Maybe there are some generations from the Iron Age that can compete. And what makes them so great anyway? Because they were poor, hated Nazis? Who doesn't fucking hate Nazis? And you remember that stunt she pulled when we took her to the psych ward? Big speech. She's getting clean. Well, this sacrifice I'm making for my family. She smuggled Darfacet into the psych ward. In her vagina. There's your greatest generation for you. She made this whole speech to us while she was clenching a bottle of pills in her cooch. What word should I use to describe our mother's vagina? The phrase mom's pussy seems a bit gauche. Mom's beaver. Mother's box. I'm sorry.
Oh, yay, bravo, bravo, brava, brava, brava. Really wonderful work. Excellent. I would like to thank these 8 students for doing 15 monologues. Laura was, I suggested that she just work on that very long one. And, oh, we have animals coming. I'm so very, very, very proud of you guys. That was wonderful. And I wanted to mention before we let the viewers leave that there is a dramatic monologue class, Zoom, that starts on July 13th. So that's 2 weeks from tonight. It goes to August 24th. It's a 7-session class, Mondays 6:30 to 9:30, just like this one. And I will be the instructor just like that one. So I'd like to thank the Gamm Theater. I would like to thank Susie Schutz, and I would like to give everybody a round of applause for being great. Thank you very much, Luke and Patrick and Daniel and Leslie and Kathy and Alex and Frank and Laura. And thank you for joining us. We're going to say goodnight to you, the viewers, now.
Night.